Should you be worried about the change in your husband's behavior when his secretary is around, or with your girlfriend's sudden interest for rugby? In this video we will talk about emotional affairs. First we'll see what an emotional affair actually is, and then we will analyze 7 signs that are typical of this kind of, let's call it, emotional cheating. As usual for all psychology videos you can find the link to the sources used down in the description. Once you have watched the video, if you like it I would kindly ask you to give me a thumb up, and if you think it would be helpful to any of your friends, to share it. Thank you very much and let's get started. An emotional affair involves having non-sexual emotional intimacy with someone who is not our partner. Someone having an emotional affair may hide it from their partner or even use deception to keep the relationship a secret. An emotional affair generally starts innocently enough as a friendship. But when a person invests significant emotional energy and time in a close friendship outside of their marriage, it's possible for the friendship to form an emotional bond that ultimately threatens and hurts the person's intimacy with their spouse or partner. While some believe that an emotional affair is harmless given that there is no sexual relationship, most marriage and relationship experts view it as a form of cheating. Emotional affairs can also act as gateway affairs, eventually leading to emotional and sexual infidelity. For many, the most hurtful and painful consequence of a partner's emotional cheating is the sense of being deceived, betrayed, and lied to. Emotional cheating is when a person not only invests more of their emotional energy outside their marriage but also receives emotional support and companionship from the other relationship. In an emotional affair, a person feels closer to the other person than their spouse or partner, and may experience increasing sexual tension or chemistry along with the emotional intimacy. A platonic friendship can evolve into an emotional affair when the investment of intimate information crosses the boundaries set by the married couple. Emotional cheating is opening a door that should remain closed. One of the differences between a close platonic friendship and an emotional affair is that the extent of their emotional investment and intimacy is downplayed or even kept secret from the spouse or partner. Another key difference is that people involved in emotional cheating often feel a sexual attraction to one another. Sometimes the sexual attraction is acknowledged, and sometimes it isn't. Let's now see 7 typical signs of an emotional affair. 1. Frequent contact. Emotional affairs are usually characterized by a great deal of contact with one another. This includes spending time together in person but also having frequent contact when you are not together. For example, you often communicate with this person at questionable hours. You devote a lot of time texting, emailing, or video calling this person. You may even neglect your partner, family, and other obligations in order to maintain constant contact with this person. 2. Frequent sharing. Emotional affairs are also characterized by a tendency to prioritize this other relationship to the point where you confide in them more than you do your own partner. They become the first person you want to call with any news. For example, if you have some exciting news to share or you have had a bad day, they are the person you call. You may not be sharing with your spouse very much at all. You might not be intentionally hiding things from your partner, but the lack of communication means that your partner doesn't really know what is going on in your life. 3. Constant thoughts. The person you are having an emotional affair with becomes the focus of your attention. This person takes over your thoughts. You may also find that you have a difficult time concentrating on anything other than this person. You think about your friend constantly. This person is on your mind when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep at night, and a lot of time in between. When you are getting dressed, you have this person in mind, hoping they will notice your appearance. While emotional affairs start out as non-sexual, you might also start having romantic or sexual fantasies about this other person. 4. Feeling understood. You believe this person really gets you. You start to feel like they really understand you, even better than your spouse. You might feel that this person has a lot in common with you or that you have a lot of shared interests. Because it seems that you have a unique connection, you might feel like this person understands you in a way that other people don't, including your partner. This sometimes means that you start holding back sharing things with your partner even more, which further degrades your intimacy, connection, and communication. 5. Inappropriate sharing. Emotional affairs may begin with conversations about work and other topics, but they often shift into more intimate details about your life, relationships, personal issues, and sex life. This tendency to make yourself emotionally vulnerable while disclosing intimate details about yourself and your feelings deepens your attachment to this other person. You discuss very personal topics, such as the problems in your current relationship. You share all or most of your problems and concerns with this person. As you do this, you also grow more discontent with your spouse. 6. Unfair comparisons. As you grow closer to this other person, you may also begin to judge others in comparison to them. You frequently compare your spouse to this person. You may get angry with your spouse for not doing things like the other person. Because you are idealizing this other person, your partner begins to look worse in your eyes. You may find yourself being more critical of your spouse. It also means that you tend to look for mistakes and overemphasize your partner's flaws without giving them credit for their strengths. These unfair comparisons also mean you overlook any negative traits in the person you are having an emotional affair with. 7. Less time for your partner. Your spouse gets less of you while your special person gets more. Whether it is less communication, affection, your thoughts, or your innermost world, your time and focus are taken from your partner and transferred to this other person. Spending time with others outside your relationship and having emotional connections is not normally a problem. It is when your connection with one person takes over your life, interferes with your relationship, and becomes something that you feel like you have to hide that it becomes a problem. One important question you should ask yourself: would you be upset if your partner shared this level of intimacy with one of their friends? How to deal with an emotional affair. Unless you are 12 years old, emotional affairs don't happen suddenly or out of the blue. It takes time and effort to build an emotional connection with another person. If believe that you are engaging in actions that might be an emotional affair, there are things that you can do to re-establish boundaries and protect your relationship with your partner. Avoiding emotional affairs doesn't mean limiting contact with others or not sharing emotional connections with your friends. Those relationships are essential for social support and psychological well-being. Let's see a few strategies that can help if you feel like you are involved in an emotional affair. Create boundaries. Establish and maintain boundaries or expectations for how you and others will behave in relationships. Communicate with your partner. Talk to your partner about the details of your life, from the events of your day to your personal feelings about different events in your life. Spend time together. Set aside time to spend quality time with your partner. Finally, consider talking to a mental health professional if an emotional affair is causing problems in your relationship. They can help you address issues that might cause you or your partner to seek out emotional connections with others in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, I recommend the video "These 9 Temptations Will Ruin Your Life" that you can find on this channel. Thank you all for your attention. That's it for today. Have a great rest of your day.